Good morning. You're listening to 90.1 FM, The Heat. I'm Josh Maschender, and this is your official First Nights update every Friday morning at 8:15, just before the sports clinic with myself, Louis Butko, and Josh Johnson. I'll be giving you the Knights update, what's happening with the varsity sports within the college. And you know what? The Knights coming off a busy weekend. The volleyball team was in action last Friday, as well as the basketball teams having back-to-back games on Saturday and Sunday. So I guess we will start with the basketball team. Algoma was into Niagara College Saturday afternoon. The girls team came into that with a record of 10-1. The Algoma girls, that is, first in the West Division. So you knew from the start that it was going to be perhaps a difficult game for the Niagara Knights team. But they held their own, and perhaps it was probably one of the lowest scoring first quarters that I have ever seen. After all was said and done, that first quarter, it was 4-4. Yeah, you didn't hear me wrong. 4-4 in that game. Then Algoma stormed out in the second quarter with a 21-15 lead. Then they outscored Niagara in the third, 14-12, and in the fourth, 18-15, winning by a score of 57-46. So Algoma increasing their record to 11-1 and really still dominant within this year in that first spot in the West Division and OCAA. Some top scorers for Niagara were Lauren Van Leersum, who had 11 points in that game, and Caitlin McPherson, who had 9 points. Caitlin having a strong weekend. As we take a look at the men's game, which was just after the women's, Niagara was also going up against Algoma, and these two teams were actually tied in the standings heading into the game. So this was a very important game for Niagara, and they really showed up. They got outscored in that first quarter, 26-21, rebounded in the second to win the second quarter, 13-10, and in the third, 21-20 slide, and in the fourth, putting up 24 points compared to the 14 of Algoma. That's really what did it for the Knights. They won by a final score of 78-71. Jimmy Belinga had 19 points in that game, Ashton Stevenson 17 points, and Alex Campbell 11 points. So why do I mention those three players? These are actually all three of the main guards besides Elise Minty on the Niagara Knights team, and that is really where their strength lies. They lack a little bit of size down low, but they perhaps have one of the best guard offenses that I have seen so far of any club in the OCAA. And for Alex Campbell to only have 11 points, he really was a distributor this weekend, and he had a strong showing. But when they have all three of those guys going, they are really a big threat. But moving on to Sunday's game, Sault Ste. Marie was in town for that Sunday matinee. The women's game, this was a little bit of an easier game for them. The Algoma women coming into this game with a record of 0-10. That's right, they haven't won a game all season, and watching the game, you could really tell why. Niagara outscored them 17-10 in the first quarter, 16-9 in the second, they got outscored, 21-20 in the third, but in the third quarter, outscoring 30-5. I was looking at the men's game, and 10-5 in the fourth quarter, winning by a final score of 73-29. Yes, it was a bit of a butt kicking to say the least. Niagara got out in front early on. They were up 12-0 right off the get-go, which is always a good sign if you're the head coach. Shelby Johnson had a team-high 19 points in this outing. Kate Montgomery was also one of the leading scorers. I talked about how she had a good weekend. She had 14 points in this game. And Caitlin McPherson had 12 points as well, adding to that win. Looking on to the men's game, Sioux probably not as strong as Algoma coming into this game. They were coming into this game with a record of 2-10, 10th in the West Division, so a bit of an easier matchup for the Niagara Knights men's team. And this is one they really needed to take advantage of, and they really did. They started out with a 28-9 run in the first quarter, outscored them in the second quarter, 21-10, 25-17 in the third quarter. And they did get outscored in the fourth quarter, 24-18, but it was a little bit too little, too late, as they won by a final score of 92-60. This was perhaps one of the best games I think I've seen the men's team play. They didn't win this game because Sioux played poorly. The ball movement that was coming from this men's team was ridiculous. At one point, I think within a 10-second span on offense, I saw maybe 6-7 guys touch the ball, and they were moving the ball so well that really on defense, the Sioux College didn't really know what to do, and it was very evident early on that they were having a strong performance. Morocco Lundy finished this game with 17 points. Jimmy Belinga also added 17 points. He had a strong weekend. And Matt Poirier having one of his better performances, knocking down some crucial threes from the outside. He had 13 points in this game. Up next for the basketball teams here at Niagara, the men's basketball team is in action tomorrow at Canadore. They travel north. The women's basketball team at Canadore doesn't have a team, so it'll just be the men traveling. But the women's basketball team will be in action next Thursday when they go up against Mohawk. Yeah, kind of their arch rival, so that should be a good game as well. Well, shifting over to volleyball, the women's volleyball team has had a rough start to the season, losing their last two games, most recently last Friday to St. Clair Saints 3-1, who came to the game with a record of 2-10, and they were sitting in 9th place. So this is a game that really the Knights should have won because they do have a better record, but they came on the losing end, and of course St. Clair's record now moving to 3-10. If you watch these Knights teams of lately, they don't have quite a bit of talent. They seem to be underachieving quite a bit, and it's just these little things, the first passes, getting good setups, getting set up on offense, running your offense more efficiently. It's just these little things that need to be improved. I was actually covering the game with Josh Johnson, and we had Blake Lowe, who's going to be our sideline reporter, and often we get an interview with the coach after the game, and depending on how they really do. And after this game, he did not want to talk to us just because he said it's the same thing over and over. That's kind of paraphrasing, but he's realizing that they are underachieving, and he's aware of that. They definitely need to pick up their play, but they will get a chance to do that too as well. The men's team has been really the high note for all the varsity sports here at the college. They won their 9th game of the year against St. Clair in 3 straight sets on the weekend. And this was from the start, the Knights just dominating. Shane Petrusma, perhaps one of the best players for the Niagara Knights. He's been voted CCAA Player of the Week, OCAA Player of the Month. He's really had quite a few accolades this year, and he didn't even touch the floor in this game. That's how well the team was playing. It was an easy win for them, and they really have been on fire lately, winning their last 8 of 9. And it's really the right time, too, because, of course, the national championships, the Ironwood National Championships, will be hosted here at Niagara College this year. It's going to be a big event in March. Some great volleyball, and the Knights automatically get into this tournament because we're hosting, but they actually might get there just based on their own play, and it's going to be quite a tournament. Of course, you can check out all the games on sportslive.ca, but I talked to Jeff Scott this week. He was one of the players who really stepped up in that game against St. Clair. He was their go-to guy. He's kind of been their second go-to guy, but I caught up with him this week, and here's what he had to say. Jeff, the Knights have really been on fire lately, winning their last 8 of 9, and you're now ranked 8th in Canada in the CCAAs. What's the feeling within the team these days?
I think we're all feeling confident. We're all having fun. We're all playing together well. We're playing great volleyball right now, so I think it's just confidence, and we're all just in a great mood.
Do you think that confidence continues to grow as the season progresses?
I think it will. As we start, playing higher-ranked teams and start playing well against them, our confidence will build, and we'll be able to pretty much make a splash on the map.
You talk about those higher-ranked teams that you just mentioned. Up next, you go up against Nipissing University this Sunday and Redeemer next Thursday. Of course, those two teams are the only teams ahead of you in the standings. You've lost to them already this season, but you kind of improved moving on in the season. What's your mentality heading into those games?
Yeah, like you said, we played Nipissing first game of the season. We have a lot of first years, so it's probably nerve-wracking for everyone. I think we're a lot more confident now. We've all got a few games under our belts. We're all starting to play mold well together, so I think it's going to be a good match.
Now focusing more on your play a little bit more. Of course, it isn't any surprise that Shane Petrusma he's been a dominating force this year. But you've also been the other go-to guy for the team. When you're running your offense, if one guy heats up, does Brad Wall, as being said, does he like to go to the hot player, or does he just try to keep other teams on their toes, constantly changing it up?
In the early stages of the game, you like to keep it changing up a bit, but if you got a hot hand, you got to go to the hot hand. And Shane's pretty much been our man this year, so we go to the hot hand a lot.
Have you ever been in a game and you've had the hot hand? Have you ever been like, start feeding me? I'm feeling it right now.
Yeah, as an athlete, when you're on your game that day, you really want to keep going with it. So you talk to Brad and you talk to Dave when he comes in, and you're like, come on, give me the ball. So
is that something that coach encourages, just to sometimes go with the hot player?
Yeah, absolutely. In a game you can make preparations, but you can never predict what's going to happen. And sometimes you just got to go with the hot hand.
Yeah, totally. I understand that, of course. It's a special year for Niagara College this year since we get to host the national championships, of course. And I know Niagara automatically gets into that tournament, but do you guys want to get there based on your own merit?
Yeah, I think the mentality on the league right now is that they don't deserve it. And I think we're all out to prove that we actually do and that we don't need the host berth just to get in there.
So you would say there's kind of a chip on your shoulder
Pretty
almost?
much, yeah. It's almost like a stick it to them kind of thing.
Do you find there's a lot of excitement within the room for that tournament?
Oh, absolutely. We're all jazzed and ready to go for it. We're still working hard, but that's always in the back of our mind that it's going to be there and we're ready for it.
So if you had to make a prediction for these 2 games coming up, what would you have to say the final result will be?
I'm hoping for 2 wins, but they're going to be good games. They're going to be close ones, possibly 4 or 5 setters. So we got to be ready to play as long as we're there. So.
Well, thanks for taking some time out of your busy schedule today, and good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
It's Jeff Scott of the Niagara Knights. He had 10 kills, 3 blocks, and 11 digs in his last game. Really a dominating force, and you can tell that this team really does have a chip on their shoulder. No matter what, you always want to be successful in trying to earn your place in these big national championships. And of course, those national championships will be going on this March. Got some big-time sponsors: Coca-Cola, Campus Living Centers getting on board, as well as Adidas, Big Kahuna, SDR Seating. Going to be a great couple days of volleyball. But as for the Knights, up next, they travel to Canadore this weekend. They're kind of heading north and to take on the Panthers, and they go up against Nipissing this Sunday. And that's really the marquee matchup. Nipissing right now, one of the only 2 teams ahead of them in the standings. So definitely that is a game that you're going to want to keep your eye on for, and make sure you try and come out and support your Knights at home when they are back at Niagara College. That's all for your Knights update this week. Thank you for joining me. I'm Josh Machner. Once again, I'll be back every Friday for giving you your Knights update at 8:15. Definitely tune in. And up next, we've got the Sports Clinic with myself, Josh Johnson, and Lewis Butko.